I am the Kern County Coordinator for the Election Integrity Project. My purpose here today is to present you a copy of the lawsuit filed by our organization. This goes back to February of 2023, and I'm here to provide a status report for that lawsuit and answer any questions you may have. This lawsuit was filed, and it was filed in the county of Los Angeles. It was dismissed by the court there for lack of standing. We appealed. It went to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal, and we received standing. That makes this lawsuit one of the only lawsuits in the entire United States where there is standing, which involves an election integrity issue. We have our organization and 5 other plaintiffs, which were politicians that were damaged by the election, and on that basis, as well as the over 10,000 affidavits provided by over 20,000 election observers that have been trained by our organization and have observed, that enabled us to obtain that status of standing. The case was sent back to the lower court. It was dismissed by the lower court. We are in the process of appealing it again back to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in front of a 3-judge panel. And that's the current status of the complaint. And with the remaining time I have, I'm happy to answer any questions. I am not an attorney. We are an all-volunteer, unpaid organization, but I'm happy to provide you with any other information that I may have.
During the 9 a.m. Tuesday, June 25, 2024 board meeting, Ms. Amy Espinoza informed you of the following. I want to remind everyone that we had 2 elections within 2 weeks of each other. The second election was not a small election. It encompassed half of our county, so it was a significant election. So we had certain tabulators that were prepared to count ballots for the March 5 election, and then we had to prepare separate tabulators to count ballots for the March 19th election. Supervisor Couch asked, is that because the tabulators you prepared for March 5th are still counting ballots during the time of the March 19th election? Correct, she said, and by March 5, we were already starting to receive ballots for March 19th. So we have to count those separately, responded Ms. Espinoza. We have given you evidence contrary to Ms. Espinoza's testimony to you on June 25th. Evidence was provided to each of you yesterday via Ms. Krause with documents that on March 8th, an election worker did in fact upload March 5 ballots into the very same tabulators that the thumb drive was inserted into the day before, and which, according to Ms. Espinoza, was supposed to be solely dedicated to tabulating ballots only applicable to the March 19th election. This isn't transparency that we have been requesting. Rather, it is an additional evidence that our Kern County elections are not free and clear. Please consider this a formal request for the following under the California Public Records Act. Certified copy of the 2 tabulated records depicting all ballots run through these 2 tabulators between the dates of February 5, 2024 and April 30, 2024.
I apologize, but you've run over your 2 minutes.
I want to read some excerpts from the Judicial Watch lawsuit case.
Sir, can you provide your name, please?
I'm sorry, Glenn Clayton, C-L-A-Y-T-O-N. I'd like to give some excerpts from Judicial Watch lawsuit case number 2:24-CV-3750. You are, as you are no doubt aware of the National Voter Registration Act of 1993, this was intended to both, quote, increase the number of eligible citizens who register, to protect the integrity of the electoral process, and to ensure accurate current voter registration rolls as maintained. The goal of ensuring election integrity was embodied in Section 8, which requires each state to contact a general program that makes a reasonable effort to remove the names of ineligible voters from the official list of eligible voters by reason of the death of the registrant or change in the residence of the registrant. The fact that the March response admits that 16 of California's 58 counties, which together contain more than a fourth of California's populations, did not know how many registrations was removed under Section 8D1B in a 2-year period. This establishes both a statewide failure to conduct a general program that makes a reasonable effort to cancel the registrations of voters who have become ineligible by reason of change of resident. It also establishes a failure of Defendant Weber to fulfill her duties as California's chief state election official to coordinate state responsibilities of National Voter Registration Act. Thank you very much.
The March response admits that 16 California counties could not, at the time of the EAC survey, tell how many registrations were removed pursuant to Section 8D1B in the period from November 2020 through November 2022, although some of these counties did provide reconstructed and estimated numbers for the March response. The 16 counties are Del Norte, El Dorado, Inyo, Kern, Lassen, Marin, Mendocino, Merced, Mono, Nevada, Orange, Riverside, San Joaquin, Santa Clara, Sonoma, and Tulare. Kern County expects to remove roughly 60,000 registration records of inactive voters during the 22 to 2024 reporting period. Although the precise number of removals will depend upon voting and registration activity, the county expects to report these cancellations to the EAC in response to the 2024 EVAS survey. Defendants have failed to fulfill their obligations under Section 8A.4 of the NVRA to conduct a general program that makes a reasonable effort to cancel the registrations of California voters who have become ineligible by reason of a change of residency. Defendant Weber has failed in her duty as California's chief state election official to coordinate state responsibilities under the NVRA. And concerned folks can go to judicialwatch.org, look at uploads, and see Weber-CA-NVRA complaint.
Thank you, Mr. Shin.
Good morning, Board. We have a great concern over a timeline to clean up the voter rolls prior to the upcoming November 5th, 2024 election. Amy Espinoza has promised to complete 77,000 inactive registration confirmations. This reflects 18% of the registered voters completed in the month of July 2024. We note that we do not see the inactive designation on the voter rolls, and we would like to know if the elections office keeps an inactive roll separate from the active rolls. We are making a CPRA request for the inactive rolls for the past 5 elections. According to the NVRA, the voter rolls will enter a frozen period with no removal starting August 7th, 2024, 90 days before our November 5th election. This affects the November 5th election, also compliance with the Judicial Watch lawsuit's demand to complete within 2024.
We have submitted a pattern of great change to registration numbers that Amy Espinoza admits was a lack of oversight and incorrect software programming causing the fluctuation of 53,000 plus or minus votes. We have great concern how these reported numbers affected the quantity of ballots ordered, the amount of ballots sent out, the amount of ballots collected, and the amount of ballots not returned. We would like a timeline of these numbers and an accounting of amounts listed for the March 5th and the March 19, 2003 elections. Each ballot costs close to $105 to the county, so 53,000 ballots added comes with an estimated cost of each elections at $5.6 million. 90-day freeze starting August 7th, 2024. National Voter Registration Act 1993. Section 8, requirements with respect to administration of voters' registration. From this document, a state shall complete not later than 90 days prior to the date of a primary or general election for federal office. Any program, the purpose of which is systematically remove the names of ineligible voters from the official list of eligible voters. Thank you.
Good morning, Board. I would like to present some observations couched in a question. Given what we've seen during and since the last election cycle here in Kern County, the need for an additional 50-plus days to navigate our now profoundly convoluted system of counting ballots, a process that we used to complete in 2 to 3 days and arrive at the results of an election, given that our registrar voter, who wears an additional 2 important administrative hats, requested and received close to $3 million in additional funding to expand our county's election agency, additional funding which, to the citizens of Kern County, has done little to bolster the confidence in what can accurately be described as a convoluted boondoggle when it comes to counting ballots. An either incompetent or uncooperative response by the ROV to addressing the issues of our county's inaccurate, some might say polluted voter rolls. Vague responses to the issues of undocumented non-citizens who, by state and national leadership fiat, continue to pollute the aforementioned voter rolls. Given the atmosphere of what can accurately be described as one of antipathy that has prevailed for the past half-decade as a result of the profoundly expensive and clearly questionable, unreliable policies and procedures that raise alarming concerns with regards to alarming concerns and abhorrent expense, arriving at evidence of egregious chain of custody issues facilitated by the mandatory mail-out ballots. The question is, if the vote put forth to our Board of Supervisors back in April of 2023, when the Dominion voting machine contract was approved by this board, were to be taken again today, given the distrust of our registrar voters' office and the lack of security and efficacy as to those votes cast by legitimate registered U.S. citizens being the only votes counted in our Kern County election cycles, taking note of the aforementioned contentious environment brought about by this mass mail-out ballots, if the vote were to be put to the board today, how would you vote? Thank you very much for your time.
In case you don't know, precinct boards chosen for each precinct are made up of voters of the state. Each person must be appointed via written notice by the county elections official and must meet specific generic requirements to be eligible. Before the opening of the polls, oaths are administered and recited by each precinct board member. Additionally, a declaration of intention to fulfill their assigned duties must be signed. At the close of the polls, each member must sign a certificate of performance. As you can see, these are all things of integrity, responsibility, and ownership. These few state-mandated requirements to be eligible to work at the polls, issue ballots, and count those ballots are important. Correct casting and canvassing of the vote in the precincts are of tantamount importance. Intelligent reflection and rational coordination must be used. The appointment process helps ensure this. However, in recent elections, poll workers are not being appointed, and ranked squirrels are working in the polls, and no oaths are being administered. I know. I'm an inspector supervisor at the polls. Mine is not a light and transient complaint. Therefore, I respectfully and cheerfully ask this Board of Supervisors to make a referral to county staff and place this matter on a future agenda for review and full discussion, and then maybe ask Kern County Elections boss to appoint future poll workers and emphasize the need for administration of oaths at the polling place before November, hopefully. I thank you.